welcome to Evansville Podcast. My name is Jason. Thank you for listening. Please follow the show on Twitter at Evansville Pod, or you can find us on Facebook, Evansville Podcast. Please check out some of our previous episodes at evansvillepodcast.com. Today's show, we're talking with Paul Mattingly, the River Basin Blues Society. You may also recognize him from WEB. We are discussing the second annual Burdette Blues Festival that will be on Saturday, June the 3rd at 1 p.m. It's $5. Get in and listen to some music, get some barbecue. Food trucks will be there, all sorts of fun stuff out at Burdette Park. And it's to benefit the River Basin Blues Society and the Vanderburgh County Special Olympics. So we talk about that, what to expect during the event. We also talk about the local blues scene here in Evansville, and we discuss some of Paul's favorite local bands. So good to meet Paul and good to find out about this event. So let's get into it with Paul Mattingly. Paul Mattingly, thank you for dropping by the world headquarters here and talking a little Blues Fest coming up. What's the exact title of the festival?
This is the second annual Burdette Blues Festival.
Okay.
And it's going to be Saturday, June 3rd at the Burdette Park Pavilion in Burdette Park out on the west side of Evansville on Nuremberg Road. And it's kind of a co-sponsored for a couple of nonprofits. The River Basin Blues Society, of which I happen to be the president, is a nonprofit. And we also have partnered the last couple of years with the Vanderburgh County Special Olympics.
Okay. So maybe before we get into the Blues Fest, if you don't mind, could you tell me a little bit more about the Blues Society here, the River Basin Blues Society? How long's that been around?
The River Basin Blues Society was established in 2011.
Okay.
And on 91.5 WEV, which has a blues format programming every Saturday starting at 11 o'clock and going till 6, there was a gentleman who had been working in the media for a while named John Luttrell. And he started a show called Full-Time Blues, and his radio name was Johnny Fulltime.
Okay.
And so him and a lady named Lynette Miller, who lives in Boonville, who has a reputation. I mean, her vacations are going to Clarksdale and Memphis and Nashville and the Blues Trail. And I mean, there's people in these places that actually know her. And when she walks in, she's been to these places so many times. I mean, She's got pictures with Morgan Friedman down at Ground Zero in Clarksdale and all this stuff. They got together and they decided to form a blues society. And after they went through all the legal 501c3 situations, they got affiliated with the Blues Foundation, International Foundation in Memphis, and the rest is history.
Okay. So, and you said 91.5, so you host a lot of some of the shows on there, right? You're involved somehow.
I'm involved with the Jazz Flight. I have a show on Friday called the Jazz Cafe. We've been doing it for the last 8 or 9 years. I was a railroader, and I retired from the railroad, and I always wanted to get a college education, so I went to U of E, an adult program, and got a bachelor's of liberal science and a master of public service administration. And in the meantime, kind of fell into the radio, and it's kind of a hobby for me, but I've also developed a career there doing board operations and productions in studio for University of Evansville Sports and also for the Evansville Otters.
Okay. So very involved then, not just as a host. That's cool. So the Blues Fest you mentioned, it's on June 3rd, and it looks like a pretty cool. The people that are going to be playing, I mean, those are legitimate people. It's like a mix of local, and you're bringing in some talent from outside of the area, right?
That's correct. Ryan Rigdon and the Primal Roots, which is D.S. Lloyd and John Caudell plays with Ryan. They've been members of the Blues Society for a while, and since I've been involved, I'm not a charter member, but I came on shortly after they began. They've always been favorites. And then Paul Blake and the Pallbearers, although a lot of folks may not equate Paul with pure blues, I mean, he has a really nice three-peat band with Bryce Klee and Heath Metzger, and they're going to come out and kick it. He's got a new CD out called Hungover and Heartbroken, which he's going to kind of play some of the tunes off of that. Okay. And then the Gough Martin Blues Band is Michael Gough, John Martin, Patrick Preston, and Gerry Smoot. And Michael Gough has been in blues around here for a long time. He has another group that occasionally he resurrects called Zogo Mojo. And these guys went over to Marietta, Ohio this last year for the International Blues Competition, and they're going to represent Marietta, Ohio, the Mid-Valley Blues Association over there in January down in Memphis. And Patrick Preston, I could talk about all these guys, but Patrick Preston is a well-known keyboardist.
Right.
He's also one of the members of a group locally called Factor Primo.
Yeah.
So he's out and about doing his thing. And then, of course, the last group, the headliner, and I always hate using that word because, it's really, I mean, she is better known and she has done the bigger tours, but music to me is all across the board.
Right.
She started out in the original Broadway cast of Hair, going all the way back then. And then when Bob Seeger put the Silver Bullet Band together, she was one of the backup singers and still tours with him occasionally.
Okay.
And then in the 80s, when Seeger wasn't touring for a while, I think it was, I don't know which Clapton album it was, but he was on tour in the 80s and she was one of his backup singers. And then when Lowell George died at Little Feat, she took over and sang lead with Little Feat for 9 years. And now she's got a band. She's got her 5th CD out, which is It Won't Stop Raining. And she's going to be premiering that. Plus, the interesting thing, the reason we got hooked up with her is there's a local guy who's been part of the Blues Society and is one of the founding members of a group called the Beat Daddies, Tommy Stillwell.
Yeah.
They love Tommy, and so Tommy's recorded with her, and he's going to be on tour with her this year. She does her festival seasons throughout the summer and early fall, and maybe beyond that. But right now, that's how we kind of got hooked up with her, and they like us and we like them, and hopefully we're going to have a heck of a good time.
That's cool. And so this day it'll be music, the blues music, but you also have food trucks, barbecue, that kind of thing.
Right. Right now we have a couple food trucks, and anybody who's listening to that, we still have a few days left, so we really don't have any room for any more food trucks. But if somebody wants to come out and give it a try, we figure we're going to put 1,000 people through the gate. So, I mean, if you want to do this, you have to be ready. But we've got the Nom food truck, we got the Duffy Shuffle, and in Cook's Fine Dishes, Gatrick's Fine Food and Barbecue is going to be our barbecue guy. Gary Boyd and his crew have been with us since the very beginning. And then for drinks, our full service beverage provider is going to be Lamasco Bar and Grill, which is also our headquarters. Amy Ward Smith is our treasurer, and she's been really helpful with us, not only allowing us to meet there, but to use Lamasco's as the headquarters. And then Monarch Beverage is also going to be out there serving Two Hearts and Blue Moon and Yingling and some of the beers along that line. So we hope to give everybody a great variety, not only of music, but also of drinks and food.
Yeah, and it's a cool area to go. I mean, I've been to some things out there, and it's a nice area to have music and you can walk around, you can hang out. So I mean, it's going to be a great day, I'm sure. The June 3rd, it's usually a pretty nice day out. Not too hot yet.
Extended weather says it's going to be dry and around 85 or 86.
Just don't ask any weathermen because they never know, right?
I don't even want to talk about the weather because I don't want to jinx it.
I should probably just cut that whole thing, right?
Really?
That's funny. So this is the second year of it. You had it last year.
Mm-hmm.
Usually things in Evansville take off after the first year, let's say. So, but you see, it was a good turnout last year, though, right?
Yeah, we had around 650 paid, and it was a good first year to kind of see what worked and what didn't work. We've had a great relationship with Burdette Park. Jerry Grantham, who is now the interim director, and all the staff out there have treated us like we're family.
Yeah.
And even in the middle of all the challenges that Burdette has seemed to be going through lately, we've kind of survived all that.
Right.
And it's kind of a good thing because as we've ascended, one of the premier events out there for the last 5 years, Annual Palooza, is no longer going to happen out there, which is kind of a drag because that was always something to look forward to. But the pavilion area is great, and the electrical setup for it.
Right.
And plus on June the 3rd, it's a family event, so while the bar and all that's going to be kind of blocked off, you can still bring your family in, and the pool's going to be open, and all the concessions with the pool are going to be open, and the camping's going to be open, so you can bring your whole family out there and have a great day.
Yeah, it's a good venue for the kind of festival. I mean, like you said, there's a lot of options if people get want to just roam.
Exactly.
as happens.
Or bike or fish,
exactly.
or there's a whole bunch of stuff out there.
It's a lot more options than the usual festival would have. You've been involved with Blues Society, the River Basin Blues Society, for a few years now, but what's the Evansville blues scene like? I mean, is it a strong scene or?
It's periodic.
Okay.
There are venues that promote the blues along with all the other musics that they have. Mojo's Boneyard out on Belmead is a great example.
Yeah.
They have probably, I wouldn't call her a house band, but there's a group called the Cole Stairs that whenever they play in Evansville, they play out there a lot, along with Paul Blake and of course the Soul Crackers play out there, which is another Tommy Stillwell incarnation. CW3 plays out there, and Casey Williams, although that's not traditionally blues, they can whip out some great blues. And then Bosco plays out there. Bosco France plays out there occasionally.
Bosco.
And then, of course, Lamasco's brings different blues acts. Probably the biggest blues act that's been through there in the last couple of years is a group from Chicago called the Nick Moss Band.
Okay.
And they've actually got some CDs that are out and doing real well in the charts. And then, of course, the Boca Lounge will bring blues in periodically, depending on what their needs are. Honey Roy's played down there, and some different groups like that. And then there's other venues like that, but those are and I don't want to get anybody mad at me, but those are, in my mind, the three primary venues in
You'll
town.
always get people mad at you. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you say.
Plus, we've also had a relationship with the Franklin Street Bazaar, which is going to start up on June the 17th. And in their lineup of entertainment in the past, they've gotten hold of us, and we've been able to get some folks, Dale Niehaus, Carl Rodenberg, the Beat Daddies when they do a duo, the Honey Road duo, Ryan Rigdon, some folks that we're associated with, we're able to kind of shuffle through their lineup, and that works out real well.
Yeah. So putting on a festival does not seem easy. I mean, that might be oversimplifying it. But like you have to worry about, you mentioned that the venue had like the electricity and everything, but you've got to get the soundboards, you got to get the speakers, you got to get all that set up. Do you have people that do that for you? How do you get that working out?
Well, we had started this up in Newburgh at the old Lock and Dam Park, and it had gone for a couple of years there, which was great. But Newburgh had some changing political scenes and some different things at the old Lock and Dam Park, and we felt it was going to become prohibitive for us to do our event up there. So we were looking around for a place down here, and we looked at some of the traditional places. The thing that Burdette provides, even though it's not like a grassy park area, is you have a really good place to sit. The bathrooms are built, I mean, they're clean and nice, and there's plenty of area there.
Sure.
There's fans covering, even on a hot day, the sun's not beating on you. And our sound and light guys are Tristate Sound and Light, which is Zach Southard and Jeff Yates. And they've kind of been with us since we've been doing these things. They've come on board and really helped us out. They do another event in Rockport with us, and just about every time we need some kind of sound and lights, we go that way.
Okay.
They provide for us. This year, we had a retail environment, a relationship with TRU Event Rental, and while they weren't a particular financial sponsor, they did give us a really good discount. So the stage out there is kind of a flat box stage, and so they're giving us an opportunity to bring a promenade out, and we'll put some nice lights up. So it'll be a little bit more than just, looking at a bingo stage, which is kind of what that is.
Right.
Everything else works out real well. I mean, as the sun goes down and the lights go up, it really is nice. The breeze comes through there. And once again, the area this time of year, even though it's going to be probably in the 80s in June, coming out of spring, and it doesn't look like we're going to have a lot of humidity with all the weather we've had. So it should be a really good day. I was downtown the other day doing some business that coincides with the Blues Festival, and with the weather nice, I mean, everybody's out walking around, going to the food trucks, having lunch, talking to each other, and it's just kind of nice to see people out in the street, and this kind of weather kind of helps promote that.
Yeah. It seems like there's a lot of festivals that pop up during the summer and fall. I mean, do you guys get along, or do you talk at all? Do you share ideas?
I've been doing this for a long time, and the hardest thing is, I'll take that back. The challenge is going out every year and being able to create your financing. There are some entities like some of our primary sponsors, which is the Evansville Convention and Visitors Bureau, Old National Bank, the Veteran Foundation, some of those, Evansville Courier and Press, some of those people, I mean, they're more than willing to help you. But once again, as more festivals proliferate, you're going to have a little bit of challenge getting the money. So what we try to do is, and, my slogan, I guess, is I pinch pennies so hard I've got pieces of Abraham Lincoln's beard underneath my fingernails. So doing that, we kind of work it out. And what we're trying to do in the Blues Society is, we want to make money for the cause and for the fundraising. But as a Blues Society, our job is to be a resource for the musicians, the fans, and the venue owners in Southern Indiana, Southern Illinois, and Western Kentucky.
Okay.
We're not here we don't have anybody paid. So the money comes in, the money goes out. We use it to promote the blues. We use it to help folks out. We use it to help do some distribution and productions if we're involved with that.
Okay.
But at the end of the year, we have a little bit to go in the next year. But our job isn't to have $100,000 in the bank at the end of the year. Although that would be nice. Our job is to take the sponsors and the funding that we have, promote the event, raise the visibility of blues, and then move on to whatever the board and the membership decides is next.
Okay. So what is it about the blues that speaks to you, I guess, or interests you you said you're president of there, and so clearly there's an interest or a passion or something there. Where's that come from?
Well, like all people, as you get older, you become very diverse in your music. I mean, an individual starts at a certain point when they're younger, and then they move through their life. Going back to the diversity of my musical knowledge and what basically I can speak to, there's also diversity in the blues that I think speaks to what we're going on today. We have a very diverse society, and while Latinos and blues don't necessarily go together, although they do in some senses. I mean, Los Lobos and some of those bands kind of have a blues groove. The African-American experience and blues go hand in hand. You can't go back into any history in the blues without seeing the African-American experience and also the struggle that the individuals have in the history of America. That's all been very well documented and frankly kind of beat to death in my opinion. However, I think that that's one of the things. So we're able to kind of create a diversity. One of the things that I've been able to do, or I hope I've been able to do, is I know enough people where I can speak to this. One of our gold sponsors this year is WEOA Magic 98.5, The Pump. And I've got to know Darren Landers over the few years, and Darren's a great guy. WEOA has really raised its profile and done a lot not only to increase its effectiveness, but also to increase its reach in the urban community. Now, if you're going to deal with any diversity in Evansville and you ignore that, then you're ignoring a big part of the population. So we don't want to do that. On the other side of it, when you look at the younger demographics, the millennials and the Gen Xers, they're not maybe listening to blues, but I tell people all the time, especially when it comes to these genres, whether it's blues or jazz, classic rock or whatever, you may be a certain age now and you may kind of scoff at it, but if you live long enough, you're going to like it. I mean, that's just the way it goes. Yeah. You can't avoid it. There's going to be a time where you're going to be somewhere and you're going to be a certain age. You're going to hear a jazz riff or a blues riff and you're going to go, hey, that's pretty good. And then you're going to go, wait a minute, I like Green Day or whatever it is, or I like Kanye West, or I like, whatever it is they like today. That's it.
That actually happened to me recently. I haven't really ever liked country music, but then here lately there's like some old time country stuff that I've gone, oh, I kind of get it. I get it now. Yeah. And just, getting old.
Well, and there's some, country, everything is becoming really homogenized. And I think that's just because of proliferation of the way we receive our content anymore, and there's a good thing in that. But on the other side, you have the old time country, but if you really want to get up to some new stuff, you got the second or third generation like Lucas Nelson and Hank 3 and some of these cats that, when you see them come out, they really kick. And then on Sirius, I don't know if I should admit, I listen to it, but I like to listen to outlaw country and Mojo Nixon and some of those cats, which are a little rough. But, when you listen to the kind of music they play, they've been around, they know what it is. And so they tie it together to where if you can kind of push away all the, all the glitz and the stuff that goes along with it, you get to have a really good education on what's going on.
Yeah. So you're pretty plugged in here locally with all the music. Before we were talking, you mentioned you pretty much know everybody. Or know of everybody.
Everybody knows me.
Right. Is there someone that you think is pretty underrated here in town that you think that people should really start to go out and check out? Well,
there's a couple groups I was at Carson Brewery, and I hadn't been out there, and they had a Battle of Bands for the Borrowed Hearts, which is a fundraiser. That was last weekend. And they had a lot of folks out there. Calabash is somebody that I've known from the very beginning. I really enjoy them. And of course, Monty Skelton, in whatever incarnation he's in. But there's a guy named Kyle Paisley. He has a group called Kyle Paisley and the Print, which is kind of cool. And groups like Thunder Dreamer, So Long Vinyl, some of those cats, even though they don't really speak to maybe my demographic, when you listen to them musically, they're out there doing it and doing it as well as you can. Factor Primo is another group that, I mean, if you really want to get your dance on, you can go hear them. And not only are they really good at doing what they do, but they're very talented musicians.
Yeah.
Well, and just while I'm speaking about those, Monty Skelton has a new group that's just popped up called Developmental Research.
Oh my gosh,
I know,
so
which
good.
is him and Theo and Dakar Baker, and those guys. I mean, you have to understand, a lot of musicians. I think the thing that I see different today than when I was growing up is when I was growing up, everybody was super serious because everybody had, they were going for the golden ring, and that seriousness and intensity is still here now, but it's kind of waned because people are so talented. And like when you watch Developmental Research, I mean, they're going to go out and do what they want to do, but there's kind of a goof behind it all. So it's kind of fun to watch it. I mean, they do a version of Prince's Kiss, which I always love because they get in the middle of it. And of course there's a long jam in the middle of it, and they'll count off, and they'll count off like 6 or 17 or 23. And you think about, I think the most I ever heard them do was like 35. And you think about three guys, I don't care how good they are, doing 35 hits and then being able to go back in the groove and not lose a step. That's pretty impressive.
They're worth seeing. We saw them at Boca on a Sunday, one of those days, and it was
Sunday Jazz at the Boca.
Yeah, it was so
really
good.
Fun,
yeah, they're our favorites. They're one of our favorites here. I could talk about them for a while. but yeah, I don't want to keep you too much longer.
We'll get them in here. Do a live set.
House band, right?
Yeah.
The official house band of Evansville Podcast. Let's make that happen. June 3rd. It starts. Doors open at 1:00.
Right.
Music starts shortly after that, I would assume.
Right, 2:00. We have a little opening ceremony, and then the music's going to start. And if you don't mind me, I don't want to be redundant, but I want to make sure I'm taking every opportunity to mention the sponsors. Of course, we've already mentioned the Convention Visitors Bureau, Courier and Press, Vector and Old National, 44 News, WOA. More Music has been tremendous. Ever since we started this. I mean, I've known Pat Moore for years, but when Brett Mosler took it over and raised its profile, I mean, he's always been a great friend of the River Basin Blues Society, Monarch Beverage, and then our media, Stage One Media and Digicom, and then Lamasco Bar and Grill, Spoil Rotten Pet Grooming, which is a business as my brother and sister-in-law run, and they've been real big supporters of ours. 91.5 WAV, of course. And then some of the participants are News for You, Burdette Park, Tri-State Sound and Light, TRU Event Rental, and I want to take a moment to thank Gretchen Irons, because Gretchen and I have been friends for a long, long time, and I mean, Gretchen's Gretchen, but she's helped us get some content and some with Channel 44, and she's always been a big supporter. We've traded stories back and forth, and it's been good to have that kind of a friend. So $5, $5. Listen, I mean, if you're out and about on a Saturday, and especially if you want to start your day, come out, have a couple of drinks, eat some barbecue, have whatever the food truck's got, go swimming or whatever. It's a great day. And like I say, $5. I mean, most people are out and about on a Saturday. I mean, they're going to blink and drop $5.
Yeah, they're going to lose $5 somewhere on the way.
Yeah, they're going to be looking underneath their seat for $5.
Right.
So it's if you don't like it, you can always say, hey, we support a couple great nonprofits, and we can go do something else.
Exactly. And if people want more information, is evansvilleblues.com.
evansvilleblues.com. Of course, we have a couple Facebook pages, just River Basin Blues Society. They're out there. Okay. And, of course, if they want to call directly, they can call 812-484-5947. Plus, we're going to have T-shirts out there. We've contacted some of the blues musicians in town who have product CDs who aren't necessarily playing, and we're going to sell their CDs out there without taking anything out, just to help promote blues. Plus, there's also going to be a great opportunity to become members. Membership is $20 for an individual every year, and the card will get you some free covers at certain institutions around Evansville. Plus, you can come out and volunteer for the blues.
Yeah, I mean, it's an excuse to get out and listen to music, right?
That's exactly right.
I mean, that's all you need to say. Well, that's cool. I'm looking forward to this. So this will be, man. So Evansville's rich with talent, with musical talent. And so I'm always excited to see stuff like this pop up.
Well, and I'm of a certain age that I remember when we were growing up and all the long-haired hippie freaks, you were either playing in a garage or you might play in a basement somewhere of some cafeteria.
Right.
And if anybody was good enough, the only place you could play was country bands. And there wasn't any problem with that. But, when you look at Evansville, especially the last 10 years, the renaissance that the present administration has allowed us to have, the rebirth of Haney's Corner, the rebirth of Franklin Street. North Main is very quickly, within the next couple of years, going to be another one of those places. There's just a lot of things going on here. Sooner or later, Roberts Park's going to be developed.
Yep.
We're right at the cusp of it. Entertainment's coming in Evansville, and it's like the old Bob Seeger song. If you want to get your fill, just grab your friend and go out. You won't have a hard time looking for it because it's all over the place.
There you go. Can't say it better than that. All right. Well, thanks, Paul. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you having me on. And
no problem.
Remember, blues, baby. Long live the blues. Come out and see us on June 3rd at Burdette.
Thanks again to Paul for being on the show and telling us about the upcoming Blues Festival out at Burdette. It's going to be June 3rd, so we look forward to seeing you out there. And as always, good job, everybody.